Hey, everybody, welcome to Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. Ed?
Season 4, Episode 10.
Episode 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're shooting for 12 this year.
Oh.
We're going to make it the 19th.
There's still plenty of time.
The big show's coming up, October the 19th, Joe's Minibike Reunion. We'll squeeze in 2 more shows. We'll find out what the dates are later on. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this. This is a big podcast. You know why? Well, Linda's giving me thumbs up. That's usually a good sign. When she goes like this early on, I get big problems. So, all right, we're going to thank our sponsors. But first, give you an idea who's in the house. Eric Adams, the gray goat, not the gray ghost, although you never know what could happen within the next hour and a half. He could turn into a ghost. Eric, welcome.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. I'm totally excited to be here. This is great.
Well, you know, Ed and I, we work together and try to figure out who we can have on the podcast. And your name has come up before. In fact, I remember talking to Karen Krause, who probably right now is either sleeping or complaining that it's too late. But Karen, we love you. Karen and I talked about having you on the podcast, and we had another disconnect. Not only is there a disconnect with the gray ghost and the gray goat that I had, but when I had reached out to her, because I know that you go back and forth with you, and she likes your Facebook live show that you do on the mini bikes, that she had suggested I could have swore that you preferred not to drive up. And I say, well, Jesus Christ, he's in Long Beach, Ed. What a prima donna. He's not going to drive up. I mean, being in the garage is what it's all about.
Right. Well, it's only 50 miles away, but it's 3.5 hours to get here.
Got it.
Well, yeah, it won't take you that long to get home.
But then it was no. That I thought that was maybe that you had that the message was that you were going to call in instead of be in the show. So no way we wanted to do that. We wanted to have you right here. So now you're here and you're next to Evil Ed. So far, so good, right?
Dude, I got a face for TV, not for radio. So bring me in.
Yeah,
I'm here, brother.
So Ed, we had talked about having you on after I talked to Karen, and sure as shit, here you are, and you're going to be at the show. So if all you guys that are watching are familiar with Eric's show that's sponsored by OMB, that's a fun opportunity for you to. It's technical related. You know, he's breaking down engines. He's giving you tips. They play games. It's fun. I've watched it. I'm sure that you guys have, and if you haven't, we'll find all the details about what Eric's up to. But first, we're going to check in with Evil Ed. Ed, there's been a few things going on, and I would be remiss to not say that I offer my condolences to you on the passing of your sister. Not necessarily the most appropriate time maybe to bring it up, but I couldn't dismiss it. So we wish you the best, and if anybody out there
Thank you.
would like to join me in that, that's tough. I'm sure that you have a lot of good memories about your sister, and that's what you hold on to, right?
Yep.
So hang in there. Today must have been a hell of a day. We'll try to make it a little bit of a better night for you, okay?
Okay. Appreciate it.
I know you don't drink, but maybe tonight could be that night.
No.
So I want to thank our sponsors. As always, Pioneer. In fact, I made some good hauls over the last couple of weeks since the last podcast. I've had mini bikes come in. We are giving away 2 mini bikes now. The first mini bike that we're giving away is from our friends at F&B Racing, and they're giving away a short frame roller. And this is not a big surprise because they've done that before. They've been with me since the beginning. They've given out constantly each year pipes. And thank you, Frank. Thank you, Brian, for all you do. We'll look forward to seeing you out there. They're going to have a display. Make sure you stop by. But anybody who registers, regardless if you pre-register or if you register on site, you're going to be eligible to win that F&B short frame roller. And then for those of you, like Ed, if you've pre-registered, you have an opportunity exclusively, just the pre-registered folks, to win this new Micro Mini from RCF. Evan Rubble has really put together a nice little niche with these micro bikes. We've got a frame. It's the one that you're looking at right now. It actually comes with a serial number and your own registration number. This will be given away, but only to those folks that pre-register. So not only will you save money, you go to joesminibikereunion.com, you register, it's $25. And then if you go to Campbell Automotive, which is here in La Crescenta on Foothill Boulevard, they'll give you $5 off. So essentially you would be in for $20. And not everybody pre-registers because it's California and people have other things that they like to do. They can go to see Mick Jagger. They can go watch the Dodgers. Jesus is handing out free tickets to heaven at the pier. So I realize we don't get a lot of folks that pre-register because no one commits to anything here. So if you do pre-register, look at the odds, okay? Maybe odds are going to be under 1 in 100 to win this bike. So pre-register, okay? There's the shtick. Thank you, Pioneer. I stopped and see my friends from Mother's. Mother's gave me, look, everywhere, boxes. Do you see them? Boxes everywhere. Mother's Polish. We've got backup cameras from Pioneer. I've got subwoofers. I've got head units. We've got stuff in boxes from Toyo Tires. I've got stuff coming from Go Power Sports. We're going to be giving away a ton of stuff. So it's just a typical Joe's Minibike Reunion. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Enough with that. Ed, big news. Little adjustment over at Small Engine Cams. What's happening there?
I think they're only going to sell mini bike parts on Friday.
A lot of banter about that today.
Yeah, I really haven't heard. You know, all I heard was on the internet, so you never know.
Yeah, the buzz seemed to be a lot of people going in there with a lot of questions, you know, and everybody wants the info. And
well, Tim has to do his regular job.
Right?
I know that.
Yeah.
You know. So at least he's taking one day to handle it.
Well, I would have thought that if the business was there and they needed somebody that was, you know, a lot of times with hard parts, you know, you have to have tech assistance. You know the deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I feel bad for Tim, you know, to have to make that statement that say, hey, listen, only Fridays, because he's actually having to slot his time to make sure that that guy that comes in and wants to talk for a half an hour about a valve retainer
That you
that's
get satisfied.
$8,
Yeah.
that he's happy.
Yeah, and Tim's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Where, although you do hear people still bitch and moan about, I got 22 calls into him, and I wrote a letter, and I camped out in front of his place. But he's just the nature of the beast. He's one guy, and he's laid back. You know, he doesn't raise his voice, so you're never going to get him in a dander if you like bitch about the fact that he hasn't called you back. And I love him. He actually cut back on the podcast too, largely because just that. I think he had more business than he was possibly able to handle, and to some degree. And then I thought maybe he just had so much time to do this, and it was taking too much of his time. So you either hire a guy like you, or hire a guy that's into the scene and put him behind a counter and let him run it, or you do what he does. So either way, we wish him the best. We'll hopefully see you out there, Ed, if you're listening, or Charles, I'm sure you're listening. Make sure you get Ed out to the Minibike Reunion on the 19th, because it wouldn't be the same without you. And you can tell us what's happening directly. How about that? So on the other front, the bike. You had a chance, Eric, to check out the current state. You know, we're almost there. You know, you had the first look-see, so to speak.
No, it's coming along. The way I met Ed was through his painting. I had a Briggs 5-horse that was going on a Powell, and I didn't want to half-ass it like I would do.
You wanted that bronze paint job, right?
It had to be the right color.
Sure.
It had to be nice paint, and it had to be right. So, you know, I did my searching around, and everybody say, Evil Ed, Evil Ed. You know,
who were you doing your searching with at that time? Was it the predictable ones? Were it the Max, or did you have the guys down in SoCal? Or
oldminibikes.com.
Gotcha. Yeah, sure.
And that's, gosh, I probably started there, 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
Hey, that was one of my questions.
Which was that, Ed? Yeah. What was it? How long he had?
Yeah. So, you know, I'm good friends with Danny Boy. Okay. Danny Espinal.
Sure.
And he's just the nicest, most talented kid you've ever seen. Kid, I said. And, you know, so Danny says, yeah, just talk to Ed about it. And I'm like, oh, well, it's Evil Ed. You know, I can't go talk to him. You know, look at him.
He'll put a cigarette out in my eye.
Yeah, yeah. So when I talk to Ed, he's like, I don't want to do it. You know, I don't have any time. And I'm like, Ed, I don't have a time frame for you. I said, here's the engine, because I had it with me at Max.
Sure.
Yeah, I said, here's the engine. Take it with you. I won't call you for 3 months. And I called him in 3 months. Hadn't even started on it yet.
Yep.
You know.
I was busy then.
Yeah, I was busy then.
But he was still taking your call, though.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you knew you were
absolutely.
still, it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, and look at this guy. He's visible. You know, he can't hide from anybody. So, you know, call him at the 4-month point, and he's like, okay, I'm going to get started on it.
You're on the board. Now he put you on the board, right? That's another 2 months.
Yeah, I went up a notch, if you will. So at that point, you know, Ed calls me, and I'm like, oh, my engine's done. He's like, dude, this block's no good. I got to get a new block.
What was wrong with it, Ed? You remember?
It was torn up bad. The scratches and all kinds of stuff.
So as far from just shoot it, right? You had to get a little engine work done.
Bad.
Right. You know, but which is interesting because today we might send that block out to be bored.
Yeah.
But 8-9 years ago,
Paint it. Paint it.
trash it. You know, recycle the block.
Yeah.
You know, in the purple can in Long Beach, and get a new block. So Ed found me a new block and built the engine up, and dude, it was right. It was.
So
perfect.
then you had your own Evil Ed engine, huh?
Yeah. That's still my avatar on old mini bikes.
Nice.
Is that engine?
Ed, so you'd mentioned, because when we had talked about having Eric on, I think Ed had a particular interest in that, largely because I think you guys can relate to a lot of things. You're similar in interest. All live out here on the West Coast. We're all kind of following the scene. I'm curious, Ed, about what other questions you may have for him. Do you remember any of the ones that you wanted to ask him?
Oh, yeah. What year did you join OMB?
I don't know. 2009?
2009.
So how long have you been in there?
07.
Okay. So you guys are OGs there, and is that where you establish your rapport with them? They sponsor your Facebook show, and obviously
I met Drew and Vicky at your show.
Oh, that's the time they came.
3 years ago.
Tell us that story, because I remember having them come out, and I had hoped that they would come out. I haven't seen them since. They're always welcome, but yeah, that's when you met them?
I was talking to Cliff Neck.
Yeah, sure.
And
Cliff Judd.
And,
Hi, Cliff.
Hi, Cliff. And Cliff says, "Hey, do you want to meet Drew and Vicky?" And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I'd love to meet them."
Vicky especially.
Yeah. But and I said, "Well, where are they?" And Cliff points, and I said, "No, not those kids. Who are they?"
Yeah, because they were a young couple compared to the rest of us, right?
Yeah, they are young.
Yeah.
And I said, "That's them," because I just expected them to be older, and I
like the rest of us.
Notion, I guess.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to them, and Drew knew who I was because of me being on the site all
OMB,
the time and
sure.
posting my stuff up, and he says, we're thinking about doing some stuff, and we're thinking about hiring some people, and I said, well, that's great because I'm unemployed right now, so that works out for me.
Was he specific as to what types of people he was looking for? Did he want you to sell parts? Does he want you to go back east and work there? Did you get a sense of what he was looking for?
Wanted somebody on the West Coast.
Got it.
For some presence out here.
Nice.
And I told him that although I'm unemployed, I came from what I call mid-level junior associate middle management in electronics, specifically cell phones, and I got laid off, and I was happy about it because I was tired of that industry. I was done. I was still flipping a few deals on the side. I had money in the bank. I was building.
Yeah, you weren't going to rush to just
beer.
the first job. You wouldn't mind to pause for a couple months, right? Just figure things out.
Yeah, and my wife was fine with it. She's like,
yes,
I know you want to build mini bikes, so build mini bikes for a couple months. I don't care.
So it came to a good time because you really weren't vulnerable and anxious to take the first job. Yet it sounded like it was a pretty good opportunity.
Yeah, and because I was still making some money on the side, flipping a few deals here and there, and they wanted me to jump in and start going. I said, no, time out, wait a minute, I don't even know if I want to do this.
This being selling parts,
tech support.
Got it.
Is where it started.
Got it.
And I said, I don't know that I want to do that. And I said, get me into your system. Start sending me what we call tickets, which is an email, essentially. It's a modified email system. And I said, send me some tickets. Let me help some people.
Sure.
And see what I think.
Yeah, let me find out these guys need a recoil replaced, or if they're really looking for engine rebuilding parts, find out the depth of the tech that you're going to be.
Yeah.
And you're not going to just get them from minibike guys. You're going to get them from the lawnmower guys and the snowblower guys and all their other customers too.
And forklifts. And
so this was a little different than the guy's going to call you up asking about his Tecumseh minibike engine.
Right.
Well, you were aware of that then. So
right.
And
I was already familiar with the site. I'm the old guy at the office, right? I type like this, right? And they all laugh at me.
That's the way I type.
It types with a number 2 pencil and a legal pad.
Right. But I'm able to talk to a customer and, talk them off the ledge and say, listen, wait, back up. Let's do this. Let's do this.
You don't have to throw out the engine. We can sell you a replacement head.
Right.
You can buy a valve. You can buy a spring. I can walk you through it.
Right. And so I said, let me just do it for you for a while. And I had done it for a couple months, and I get a call from Vicky. And Vicky says, Eric, how much are we paying you? And she said, well,
You said not enough, right?
I said, you're not paying me anything.
Oh.
I said, I'm just doing this in my free time.
You're giving them a little audition, right?
Well, I need to feel them out,
Sure.
just like they're feeling me out.
Yeah, you don't mind doing it for a few days without charging them, right?
And one thing that I realized that I've always done that has led me down different paths is I'm willing to work for nothing if I can learn something.
Smart
because you can't
Yeah.
put a price on knowledge. So got in doing that, and Vicky calls me and she says, Eric, how much are we paying you? And I said, Vicky, you're not paying me anything. And she goes, no, come on, really, how much are we paying you? I said, you're not paying me anything. I'm just doing it.
And this is your third day into it? She's calling you?
Second month.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
So she says, no, Eric, we got to pay you. I said, I quit then.
Funny.
You know?
Sure.
So I said, I don't know if I want to do this. So I'll help you guys out with what you guys have brought me as far as enriching my life through old mini bikes. It's okay that I give back to you. So let me just do this, figure all this stuff out for a while.
What a guy.
And see what I want to do. And then at that point, they flew me back to Pennsylvania. We sat down, we talked, we came up with a plan and got it done.
Well, that's an optimum situation. They talk about how the passion should drive you, and then the money comes. The passion leads you to want to just get better at it. And if you're as good as you should be, if you're passionate about something, then the money comes. The people that are leading with the money, hoping they get the passion, then learn the task, it's back afterwards, right?
Right.
So they're lucky to find you, and it seems to be a good fit for you too.
Yeah. It's working out well.
Yeah.
You know, but I know that there was some times where they're like, what are we doing with this guy?
Probably on your end too, right? You get right after so many forklift seals. How many can you sell? You go pound your head on the friggin' wall, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Every day, brother.
Well, I would imagine. I'm surprised I haven't.
Man, I'd hate to have that job answering all those questions.
Well,
everybody comes to me and says, "Oh man, that's a dream job." Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let's stay on that for a second. About what's a typical day for you in terms of calls?
Some days might be 50, some days might be 20.
Got it. Some days
Our emails.
Yeah.
Some days might be 20, some days might be 60.
Wow. So you're doing in tandem. That's that's a full-time job.
But it's like the way our email system counts our emails in our closed tickets, if you will.
Sure.
It counts it as one ticket. But this might be a string of 20 different back and forth.
Sure. Well, none of them are one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
those are all the strings with the gorillas attached to the end.
Right.
Hey, I have a question about my mini bike. And
Yeah.
Do you find yourself having your bad days where you've had it? You may be just a little bit too quick and just a little less patient. I mean, you're only human. Do they get you every once in a while, or are you still able to keep a bright and fuzzy for the most part?
I like helping people.
Got it.
And these people are calling because they need help. So I may be having some real colorful language between phone calls, but I'm a Gemini too. So you turn it off and turn it on.
Good for you.
So if somebody's calling me, no, it could be, I just probably had somebody that crawled up my backside.
Sure.
But I'm on the next call. So I try and divorce my thought from that, compartmentalize it, move on.
Sure.
And then, have a beer
even people that are
afternoon.
calling up and getting help, they sometimes get pissy.
Yeah.
And that's dealing with that in a somewhat of an intermittent basis is probably entertaining, if not. Well, good for you because, they do need the help. What about do you see a trend in part purchases? Is there your conversations obviously lead those guys to buy something? Is it mostly engine replacement parts? What seems to be
the performance engine parts is where it's at right now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. When I first got involved with all of this, it's like the Baja Warriors and the Doodlebugs. Don't even bring them on the site. OMB wants nothing. Old Minibikes wants nothing to do with that.
Yeah, right.
But then Coleman came out with bikes.
Right.
And
they're all over.
They're
$200 mini bike in a box.
Right.
Put them out there.
That and Motobox.
Yep.
So you've got all these new bikes coming out, which is great. It's good for business, but it also brings a lot of people in that got that Coleman and say, I want to go faster.
Yeah, it's the first thing they wanted.
That's the thing. Everybody has to go faster these days. And I always say, don't go faster than your brakes, you know. And everybody thinks they need to do 60 miles an hour. You know, you're not going to catch this fat butt going 60 miles an hour on a mini bike.
I just think that the younger folks that you used to be happy, even if you ended up with the Slug 2.5 horsepower, as long as it started and you felt an engine between your legs, now it's not good enough.
Right.
There's no put together a Coleman bike and ride it around. Those guys pull it out and they don't even ride it until they're tearing apart the engine and trying to replace the flywheel and the carburetor. And, you know, when I was out in Detroit, meeting with Eric and at the time Crispy and my buddy Cal Carisi and a few other guys, they've got that big dome out there, the velodrome. And we were watching a group of young kids, urban dudes who had bought these Coleman bikes. And you could tell it was their first attempt, and everything was rattled on and loose and no brakes. And they were pulling the throttle with the cable with their hand and had flip-flops on. It's like, and there were a lot of them. So you love the fact that there's new young folks coming in. You know that the types of bikes, like, you know, Ed's not even going to talk to you unless it's a vintage Bonanza. But those types of bikes are not what the young guys are riding. They're riding the Doodlebugs, and they're riding the Bajas, and they're riding the Colemans. It's just how it is.
Right.
So you do a good job because you're actually a matriarch helping out, maybe get these guys thinking about safety. You know, they don't want to hear so much about putting your helmet on anymore. But when you're coaching them, to your point about braking, and you're maybe helping them, you know, they may want to buy a stage 2 or 3 hop-up kit. It's like, dude, you might want to walk before you.
You know, which is funny because you know, if you call me and you start a phone call with, hey, I saw this on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm just, my eyes roll in the back of my skull, and I'm just like, oh, here we go. You know.
I was looking back at my mailing list, like a caveman. I still have all my folks who
on
were participants. On a piece of paper. On a piece of paper that you can barely read. And ask a mini bike kid who's going to mow, or a guy or anybody for that matter, who's about minutes away from rolling his bike into the show, to write his email address down. And you get a very clear first name, a somewhat distorted last name, and you have no idea where it's going from there. If it's a Gmail, and you know where you can really tell that I had attracted an older crowd is everybody has an AOL address. You know?
I still see a lot of those, and I go, "Oh, you on dial-up?"
But as we've as I've got closer to the 2016, I started to see a lot of folks with Groms. You and I were looking at the Grom, and that whole group, and that's become such a big part of the event because they typically show up a little bit late in a group like a beehive. And the sound and the way that the bikes are built and what they're doing with that segment is just unreal. So we're hoping to have another a spectrum of mini bikes, right? From the old school vintages that we all love, including some of the current bikes we just talked about. You'll see some Bajas and some Colemans and some Motovoxes. In fact, a lot of the guys from Arizona, not necessarily the group of folks that I'm familiar with, but some of the guys who are out there, Motovoxes are big. In Detroit, big. Who's the one dude that's stretching frames and building some really nice bikes? Montoya Dutch or Dorch?
Dorch, yeah.
Yeah, I think those guys, they stretch out a Motovox. And I never related to them. I always, I was kind of afraid of them because you knew that they weren't made of that same type of steel and that same quality. You know, It's like, you know, you're going to fall on them. At least have half of a chance, right?
Chinese steel.
Ed, what else about not only Eric, but I was just going to get into the fact that I remember him when I was going through the list with the name, and then curious about, you've seen that show for a while now. You know, you've been coming almost since the... What have you seen from the show? It's different to hear. It's nice to hear from another person's perspective. I've got such a different view. Have you seen any changes? Have you seen anything that maybe one way or the others got your attention?
You know, it was interesting last year because it rained in the morning.
Yes.
Well, it didn't rain. It was sprinkled.
Yeah, but it poured the whole night. Believe me, we were out here.
Yeah. So it was a little sloppy out there. But the attendance was down.
Sure.
And everybody's saying, oh, look at this, poor Joe, you know, there's not so many people out here. And I'm like, no, that's good because we filtered out the weakness. You know, that was our natural selection was the rain. Yeah. You know.
Funny you say that.
Yeah. And it was raining hard when I left for Long Beach. And, you know, I try and do pretty bikes. Yeah. And, it was soaked when I got there. Yeah,
and my heart was just melting because I remember standing there like a proud father when people come in to see your beautiful daughter when she's born. I'm standing at the gate in years past and guys are rolling in their bikes and they're all clean. I had like a 5-foot puddle waiting for them right in the beginning. and you bring up a very good point because those folks that stayed, not only did the sun come out, but the guns came out and the show was great. And I think it went from what could have been a sour, wet day to a pretty good event. And, you know, I moved the event back. I think I started this event, I don't know if it was August, and it was so hot. And then I tried the end of August, and I didn't do it much better. And we tried September, and that still was hot. At least it was hot every day that we used. And we are now in October. And work dictated to me, I couldn't do it much later in October because I had to leave for SEMA show, which takes up a lot of time. So getting that in, the last possible Saturday in October, I'm still trying. Brad DeMoisey. Brad's out in Michigan with the Southeastern Minibike Reunion. Brad's had his second annual event. He had some rain, and he's 2 years into it. And Brad, keep the spirits high, brother. There's some photos that he had a Young Gun Award winner. He had a group of his family and friends come out and helped him out. I see Sam Blackburn, one of his bikes. What is the black lavender or blue lavender or whatever it is? Won first place. Congratulations, Sam. So, yeah, when you have these outdoor events, and people were coming up to me. I remember Minibike Paul saying, hey, I was telling Nick on the way over, boy, oh boy, I sure wouldn't want to be Joe with all this rain. And when he actually repeated it exactly that way, probably sounded like that too. And it's like, here's the thing. When it's all about money and, you know, you're charging people to come in and charging people to take a shit and charging people to get a water, it's like, that's not the game with us, you know? We don't charge spectators. So it's not like we lost anything in terms of what monies from spectators. That's not an issue. The sponsors, they still can.
Right.
And whatever money they give us, the $30, $40, $50. So this is far from a cash situation. What was nice is that when it did stop rain, I just want the people to be amongst the people. That's it. And that happened. So even if it rains this upcoming 19th, who give two shits? Stick it out. Maybe, you know what I'll do for the goodie bags in the future? I'll give out those cheap little hoodies, Ed. You know, those little, you can make them really small. And if you need to have a little something for you. Hey, we've got some new apparel. We've got some hoodies this year. We've got some traditional banners. And what do I have there? There's a magnet that I think I gave to you, Eric. What is that? Okay. So we took some of the logos. We did the traditional logo. We did the one where Ed and I are behind the studio for the podcast. We've got one that's a pizza. We've got a few magnets. We've got two different versions of hats. This one is black with like a black camo, right up Evil Ed's alley. It's dated. I try to date all of them. So for those of you where that stuff matters, they're flex fits. They're cool. I've got some hoodies, and I'm realizing now, and I'm going to tell, no pun intended, Eric, my larger friends, I didn't buy a ton of extra larges. I bought a few. So Frank Franquez, I'm telling you right now, look at me. I bought 4 of them. You want 10 of them. If I were you, the first thing I would do when I would get there is go see Linda. All right. The rest of you who I may not have enough.
Well, wait a minute.
Yours is coming.
I'm going to see Linda tonight.
Oh, but she doesn't have the T-shirts. So I've got, and I also have some hoodies, but I didn't buy a lot of those because the last time I bought a lot of hoodies, I had a lot of hoodies for way too long. So all the stuff that I bought, although it's new, I didn't buy a lot. So really, if you like to buy something, go buy it quick. I do have it online as well. So if you would like to, be sure that you get a hoodie or an extra large shirt. Buy it online. www.joe's Minibike Reunion. It's the 19th of October. How we doing on time, E? Okay, good. We have an announcement to make ourselves. In fact, why don't you make it, E?
Oh, we're officially on iHeartRadio.
Huh?
So we're on the iHeartRadio app as far as the podcast. So it means anybody with the app can listen to us.
So,
Is it filming too, or just to listen?
Just listening.
just listening. So once again, E, we are now on what is it?
iHeartRadio.com.
iHeartRadio.com. I can't keep up with this stuff. Can you, Eric? Are you kind of like a... No, forget it.
Give me a wrench. Don't give me a keyboard. Yeah.
I do. Look, for the most part, I love it because it helps me get to places and find out things. But when E comes over, I've got an issue, and I watch what he's able to do, and it's like, man, I'm so impressed with him, but I feel like such an idiot. I swear. It's humbling, and it's so damn necessary. I woke up one morning, and like everything I had, my email, my files, just like nothing, black screen. I don't know what you would have done. I was going to go buy another computer, literally.
Well, I would have panicked.
He come over. He's got some other thing. He's connecting wires. Boom. Poof, voila. It's like, okay, I got to go to work. It's like, thank you.
I'll need to get your number, E.
And he does a great job. And, we still have some issues. It never fails. You know, we'll have 5 stellar podcasts, and then for some reason there'll be a gremlin in one of the podcasts, whether it's the audio or whatever. But I know that Karen Krause has suggested we take cues on filming from you, so maybe you can give E a few pointers afterwards.
She must be on something. Yeah, because there ain't no way, dude. I'm running solo.
Well, we see, and you know what? Let's talk about that. You've done pretty well. You've got a nice little following. People look forward to it. It's like they're planning their dinner around it. You've got a good group. How's it? That's got to be pretty cool. You got something cool to do. What, once a week?
About a month before I started the show,
right?
I was back on Facebook.
Okay.
Because I didn't go to Facebook. You know, my wife and my daughter all night long,
sure,
phones plastered to their face. But I want nothing to do with Facebook.
Sure.
Why do I need
You're
to
on
be
the garage,
Facebook?
right?
I don't need to talk to that guy I went to high school with, 40
Sure.
years ago. It doesn't make sense to me, But I'm learning about it in as much that I know how valuable it is, and I know what a great outlet it is. Which it comes with some negative parts of that as well. But, when Drew and Vicky said, hey, we want you to start going live.
Sure.
And I'm like, huh? Oh, crap. What am I
The thing to do, right? It's a social media world. They're an online store, right?
Right.
You connect the two. You connect the tech questions with the direct buy. It's perfect.
Right.
Perfect
You got
world.
Eric working on motors.
But there was a lot of a very steep learning curve there, and there were some stumbling blocks. I
Sure.
plugged in my computer one night and the power wasn't connected. So here I am. The computer goes dead because the battery went down because the laptop, and then I'm like,
Learning curves.
yeah,
Learning curves.
So I've got it down. It doesn't take me a long time to get set up, and my setup is very similar to yours. I mean, you might have more room than I have here.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because, it's a car and a half garage with 8 mini bikes, and, I've got the a printer and the vinyl cutter and the laser and
Sure.
parts and luggage and everything in there.
Yeah.
So but the magic of television, you guys don't know out there. So,
Yeah.
but it just... It got to where we were building on it, and then I've had people call in and say, "You're Eric," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is Eric, that gray goat guy."
Yeah. So it does.
Or gray ghost guy.
Gray ghost.
Yeah.
Depending.
And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." Oh my God,
Yes.
I can't believe I'm talking to you.
So it gives you that that little the credibility that comes from someone seeing your face on it's their version of TV.
Right. Yeah. So, and one thing that I try to do, working for the company, like absolutely, we got to sell product. That's how we stay alive. That's how I get paid.
Sure.
So I do want to show some product on there and show how to get this stuff done, because there is a lot of confusion out there.
Yes.
With Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that, and so many differing opinions that may or may not be great. So, I wanted to kind of be straightforward.
Bring them a little bit more to the real world, not so much what they see on the YouTube.
I want to appeal to the common man, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah.
The common man we are at the minibike world.
I'm really blessed because I get to talk to the guys at Dyno Cams, ARC.
Yes.
And I clown Jody every week at
Right.
ARC.
Sure. While you learn and glean tech info and newest info, that as you have a relationship with them, that's still the big part of the
Right,
relationship.
right.
You pass that on throughout the show. You sell a few light flywheels. It's feed the machine, right?
Right. Yeah. And it all feeds the machine. But one thing that because I'm blessed enough to be able to talk to Jody, very casually, and I'm like, dude, you're videoing installing a billet rod. You're killing your sales, dude. And what do you mean? I said, well, everybody's intimidated. Nobody has a dial bore gauge or calipers or anything like that to measure all this stuff. I realize that's the right way to do it, but the common guy like myself,
You got to dumb it down.
I have some decent tools, but that's not something I have.
Yeah.
Nor would I even trust what I'm seeing if I had the tools.
Sure.
So,
It's like somebody giving you a really high power camera and say, take a picture. It's like, it ain't just take the button.
right.
As soon as he hands you that camera, you're going to put it down.
Yeah.
Once you
Stop this,
yeah.
buddy. Yeah.
So did he take that to heed? Did he, or are you finding that maybe that's your role to go somewhere in between the guy who doesn't know anything and the guy who knows?
Right. Yeah, and
too much.
And that's kind of what I wanted to do. And it's interesting because Jody and I compete on Thursday nights when he's doing it, but he's lazy and he doesn't do it all the time. So I go on to his podcast and I see somebody post, dude, you give so much more technical information than that other guy does. and at first I was kind of pissed off about it. And I'm like, well, who the flip is this guy?
Sure.
Wanting to talk like this.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of
think backwards,
reel it back and think inside myself for a little bit and go, no, that's fine. Because his show's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And my show isn't either. Because you can't please everybody.
How true.
So I want to be able to show how people can get the same results with common tools.
And I do believe within our community, we're mini bikes, not F1. F1, you're not going to be sticking it. There's no entry level. It's like you go right to the top, and that's what's expected. With mini bikes, you have to assume that most of the guys are average guys. Putting 4 bolts in, one thing. Swapping a carburetor, one thing. Tearing an engine apart completely. Once the parts are on the table, no one's ever coming back. You go over to Ed's shop, and you'll expect to see an engine exploded. Probably your shop the same. Not going to really see that here. See bikes, there's a point where if you know your role, and I think a lot of guys get into it, just like, okay, let's tear this engine apart. And they're going to ultimately, need a part, need to know something, put it on backwards. So you almost become a natural part of any newbie's entry into the sport, right?
Right.
He's automatically going to get into that place. Even if it's a clutch, they think it's 3 Allen heads and put it in, they don't lube it. Or you see so many easy bolt-on parts that people have problems with just because they never got that one instruction, the right one from the beginning. So they always put it on wrong. And it's like, no, you don't do it like that. This happens to me constantly still. So, that role that you fill, helping those folks, I'm sure that you collect some really genuine fans. That's got to be satisfying for you too.
Right. And, it's very rewarding because like I told you earlier, I like helping people. And when I can build a long-term relationship with customers and show them how to do it, teach them how to do it without having, $10,000 worth of tools,
right?
And to have successful results.
It is supposed to be I always suggest that it's the most affordable means into motorsports. When you think about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your point of admission, your cost of entry is under $500, and you're on a motorized 2-wheel, whatever you want to call it. You can't say that for a lot of other motorized hobbies.
Well, it's interesting. The Coleman that we used to develop some of our Coleman parts, we bought from Karen.
Okay, Karen Krause.
Karen picked up 2 of them at Kmart after Christmas, $249, $279.
Yeah, I remember there's a couple posts about that.
Yeah.
You're out of there for $500 for 2 bikes.
For 2 bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about that. That's 2 14 or 15-year-old kids' summer in a lifetime of spills and memories and fun.
And that's one thing, Joe. Even if I have a customer that has called me and crawled up my backside, because we sent them a 3/8 bolt instead of a 5/16.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we're not
Shit
perfect.
happens, man.
Right. When they
Sorry
call
about
and
that.
say, yeah.
I was pissed off that day. I should.
Well, that was you. So with the next caller that says, "Hey, I'm working on a couple mini bikes for my kids or my grandkids,"
You're there.
my demeanor immediately changes.
Sure. You're sending them free shit.
Yeah.
I think I got one of those at the house. I'll just send it to you. Yeah. No, I hear you.
And I've done that.
I melt. When they call me on the bat line, you get on the phone with these guys, and it's just like they got you.
Because how many kids today that are in their late teens have never ridden a mini bike?
It's a lot.
Have stayed inside playing video games.
Sure.
Ad nauseum.
And when they try to get on them after 20, they're dorky. They just
Right.
they don't have it. And they're the ones that fly off them the first time, and then they'll never get back on.
Right.
Yeah, if you can get somebody on there early, especially if it's an athletic kid, get them on a friggin' mini bike.
Right, right.
Even the girls actually take to it. They're more fearless than the boys nowadays.
Yeah.
I've hesitated because I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and if they were here, they'd all have one, but they're all on the East Coast. And it costs you 10 times what these things are worth to send one back there.
Yep.
And they have the room, yet you know it's inevitable someone's going to fall and get a stitch, and someone's going to go through the fence. So, a part of that is like, I'd rather not deal with that. Knowing that whenever you give somebody a mini bike, there's going to be
You know what, though?
But it's kind of life. It's like giving somebody a car.
With
It's
the
like
pussification of America
let them fall, right? Let them fall.
Did you have stitches when you were a kid?
I sure did
And
from my
broken
mini bike. Yeah, that's part of the deal, right? You have to have a better scar.
There's so many. My kids. My daughter's going to be 26 next month. My son just turned 21. They've never broken a bone. They've never had stitches.
Different world now. Yeah, it's a different world.
Get out there and get it done.
Yeah.
Go there. And it's like, oh, well, my little baby's going to get hurt.
It's true.
He'll learn.
Yeah.
You only have to hit me in the head with a hammer once to know that it hurts.
Right.
So let's not do that again.
So what's in the current Eric Adams fleet? Name a few of the bikes that, as you look around the garage, you'd see.
Well, I've got, let's see, 2 Gilsons. I've got a Scat Kitty up in the attic, just a roller.
Got it. What's the plan for that? Just to start collect the parts and ultimately put the Scat Kitty together?
I don't build stock stuff, Joe.
I got you. All right.
I've got a little Briggs 3.5 horse IC.
Nice.
That I'm slowly building up. I bought the head from a lawnmower, a vertical shaft head.
Okay.
Because it's got curved fins on it and an angled plug, so it just looks trick.
Sure.
Doesn't do anything,
Yeah.
but it looks good.
Yeah.
And
Love all that.
Yeah. So I'm not the guy that's going to spend years chasing parts. I appreciate the guys that do. I love that guys are so dedicated and devoted to that.
Not your bag.
I'm too impatient for that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which ones are close to being finished?
Well, the finished bikes is a Murray Track 2, a white one. It's been to your show.
Like that?
I've got a Mutt that is like 2 different mini bikes with homemade forks. My favorite, Easy Rider, called the Silver Bullet. And that one's complete. I've got a Gilson that's complete. I've got a Doodlebug that's complete. I had to build a Doodlebug because I deal with the parts.
Sure.
So
best way to know about it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How could you not? They know you didn't.
Yeah. I never thought I would, but
Yeah, sure.
So there I'm at.
Tool of the trade, right?
Yeah. And then I've got a Miniko Trail Ram, I think.
You don't hear too many of those. Any of those? Yeah.
No. A lot on the East Coast, but not much back here. But then I've got one of the old original Trail Rams, and it's nearly complete. One of those things, I'm too trusting. Guy in Missouri, Oklahoma, somewhere out there. I did a lot for him through the company, and he paints for a living. And I said, well, I know you want an aluminum gas tank for your cart.
How about you paint the bike or something?
I've got some of the old Falstaff kegs that they used to sell with the cardboard handles and the little clamshell box. I said, I'll send you one of those. I'll send you the petcock. I'll send you my tank to be painted. And I sent him $100.
Stiffed you?
8 months ago.
Yeah.
But he's also that same customer that calls me, hey, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff?
Sure. They're the same animal. Fortunately, they're few and far between.
But, the ugly part about that is between buying the tank, having it blasted, having it soaked.
Sure.
And then I sent it to Sam Bennett to have him burnish it to get inside and out clean. I'm 2 bills into this tank.
Easy.
And now somebody else has it and won't return my phone call, won't talk to me, nothing. And maybe not my first instance in mini bike, but probably the second. Most people I deal with, might deal like with Ed. I'm not going to call you for 3 months. I like what you do. I appreciate what you do. And I'm not going to beat you to death about it. Temecula Bob. We talked about a frame in February. He's got, Bob, are you watching? I need a frame, brother. But I also realize that guys like Bob and guys like Ed, they're perfectionists. And they're going to put, it's like the old saying, your work is your signature, sign it with pride. I know that Ed and Bob are those guys. I'm not worried about them. I know that everything's safe with them. And I went outside my norm and I trusted somebody.
It's okay. It still hurts, but that's just how it goes. It's karma too. It all comes back.
Right.
So Fortunately, there's more Ed and Temecula Bobs and Taco Bills than there are, the other. We find them all. It'll be the same way in anything else, but I think the community overall, I don't know if I was talking to somebody, obviously it was somebody outside of the mini bike world. I think it was with my other world. And it's like, socially, I don't spend a lot of time with people that I'm friends with through the real job. It's all my mini bike guys. And if we're not hanging out or talking, we're together or we're online, I'm not chatting with kids from high school. It's Ed or whoever, Jake or Ian. It's a good thing. I like this side of it. It also is that common denominator for all of us, whether it's age or whether it's female or male, everybody comes in there and it's all the same thing. I do see, and I'm liking the fact that there's more people now coming from out of state. So we'll see a few folks that we've never met that we just hear through the podcast posts or through, the social media. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. We've got representation from about, 16 possible states coming.
Wow.
Most of them are West
Good
Coast.
for you.
Yeah. And, it's not like there's tons of them coming from each state, but it's nice. And if you know of someone who hasn't heard of it, let them know. It's the Joe's Minibike Reunion presented by Pioneer, October the 13th at CV Park. 19th, yes. Did we change the date? It's the 19th. You can register online now. It's joesminibikereunion.com, .net, .anything. It'll get you there. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll have a few more minutes with the Gray Goat, not the Gray Ghost and Evil Ed.
The Gray Ghost.
If you have a chance, go grab something cold. We'll see you back here in a few. Thanks.
New from the makers of legendary Brake Clean, the Shop Size Brake Clean Pro Series. The larger Pro Size can has 50% more of the brake clean you've trusted for over 47 years. Also available in 3 non-chlorinated formulas.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. Wow, you guys missed it. A lot of stuff happening during the break. Okay, we're back. We're back with the Gray Goat, the Gray Ghost. If he really is a Gray Ghost, he'll disappear in about 45 minutes if things are going right.
That was just between me and you.
And sometimes I miss the obvious, right? I'm Italian. All right. If you're wondering why I seem to have like a kink in my neck, I do. I was at the physical therapist for an hour and a half this morning, and they did the cup thing where they suck your skin into a cup. They had me on that shit that they put on Frankenstein, the electrodes. Linda's giving me thumbs up. For another 45 minutes, they had hot, cold, every friggin' compress, every temperature. It's still sore. I came home. I took a little jacuzzi. I took a hot shower. It's still stiff. So if I look like I'm stiff, I still am. But I'm flexible on the inside. Speaking of, Vern Adams, a big fan of the Gray Goat. You're going to win and take home some authentic Gray Goat garb. And what I'm talking about is these really cool hot or cold cups. We got some t-shirts. We've got, although you're not getting this, because this, well, usually I give all the good shit to Ed first, because that's how it works.
So the hell with Ed, and I brought doubles of everything except for this, but this was for you.
Look at this.
What?
This is the official.
That's a 4-liter opener.
Well, I'm cracking a few more beers than you, Ed, considering you're not a beer drinker. So I'll keep this one. This is how I remember Eric originally, is with that really cool card, the gasket guy.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is the one I remember. It's, if you haven't seen it, it's the gasket man, Eric Adams, head flunky, big dummy, CarPlay at yahoo.com. It's got that old TV martini drinking, cigarette smoking couple from the 50s or the 60s. It's really cool, this card, and it's a gasket. So you can see where he gets his...
Turn it around.
Oh, what do we got there? Oh, there you go.
I recycle.
Look at that. I was going to say, it looked like it was a red rainbow. So this is all recyclable. Awesome.
That's a Coors Light box.
Wow.
Come on, brother.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Awesome. You're a pretty fart smeller. A pretty smart feller.
Yeah, I'm pretty, huh?
All right. So how about that, folks? You got some really grade A entertainment tonight with this guest. So we're going to be giving away, Vern, you won a set. You got the T-shirt. You got the cool cup. Let's see one of those shirts, Eric. What do you got there? Did you put the Gray Goat logo on there?
This is the standard Gray Goat shirt. I'm going to cover up my pretty face for a minute.
Was that the one you said, Vince?
Look at that. From the camera. That's who drew the drawing of the goat?
I bought it online.
Yeah, well, he's got a sinister looking eye there.
Yeah.
Now, is there a story behind the Gray Goat name?
There might be.
Because there's a lot of...
Do we have to pay you to tell us?
How did you come up with the Gray Goat?
Only half what they're paying you, Ed.
I like it. I like it a lot. Even the way that you've got that text coming, kind of funneling down.
Well, that's all me.
That's all you. All right.
You can tell that, I have a laser at my house. I make gaskets. I'm, probably equally as well known in the vintage go-kart world
Okay.
as I am in the minibike world.
For the gaskets, then.
For the gaskets.
Wow.
Because for the old McCullochs, West Bends.
Sure.
If Frank rebuilt it, Frank Moore
Moore
rebuilt that.
certainly did.
It might have my gaskets in it.
Probably does then.
So
Thank you.
Love talking to Frank. He's a hoot.
He is, and I think I mentioned on the last podcast, I had seen a West Bend that looked really nice on eBay, and I had seen some on OfferUp, and they were maybe around the same price or a little bit less, but you didn't know. You didn't know what was done to it, what wasn't done to it. With Frank, you know. And
Right.
Frank's charged less than some of the other folks that you don't know. To your point, great to talk to. I think I may have talked him into actually getting a phone, one that has a camera, because I asked him if he could take some pictures of the engine, because I was like a little kid and I just wanted to see it. And he's like, he doesn't have a camera. I said, no, just use your phone. His phone doesn't have a camera. It's like, I'm loving this guy. The more I talk to him, so he was going to see if he could check with one of his nephews, and his nephew sent me photos that look better than some of the ones on Time magazine. So he went from, and so by the time I got my not only was the engine done on time, but he probably lost money on the shipping. And he was so conscientious, calling the day he had shipped it, wondering if I had got it the day before, the day that I did get it. It was like he had sent me his son. And I can't wait to stick it in something, but that's a 700 that he modified a little bit for me. I think it was $600 out the door. It's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
With shipping. and
Yeah.
he's on the other side of the U.S.
Right.
So thank you,
Ohio.
Frank.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this also before. If you are looking for anybody to help you out with a West Bend hookup, and he came to me from Justin Eichler. That's how I came across Frank. And there's another dude up in Northern California that's also a West Bend guy. His name is eluding me now, but
Dave Bonbright.
no, another Nick somebody. Nick
Scarra.
Yeah, Nick Scarra.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I don't
But
know.
Nick doesn't rebuild engines.
No, so that wasn't him then. And speaking of, I always forget to, or actually I remember, but it's usually too late. And I do want to get back to the Gray Goat story. And I also want to talk to you a little bit, Paul, Minibike Paul, the upcoming, one of two upcoming Joe's Minibike Reunion Hall of Famers. He had made a comment. He wants to find out a little bit more about your passion about Panama. We chatted a little bit about that. That could be an exit plan for you sometime soon.
Yes, sir.
And before we get into that, as well as getting an update on what the next couple of weeks have in store for Evil Ed, I know we've got a schedule for some of the remaining parts that we need to collect for the Barris Super Stalker. Chris, again, working with Greg Dahlia, hoping we can get a clutch cover there. We've got our folks over at, well, actually, you're working on a little bit of what? We got to get a little bit more work done on the forks.
The fork, yep. And
What else?
I think I got the shocks done.
Okay, cool.
Got to get the fork done.
So you guys can write this down. Here's
I ordered the axles.
beautiful.
I got the rear axle and I got the neck bolt.
Cool. I bought some axle bolts, a bunch of them, so I may have some too.
Oh, okay.
We were talking about what, the 5th and 6th, that we would try to have as many of our parts as we could this upcoming end of this week, beginning of next, and then on the 5th and 6th,
Put it together.
yeah. Who knows, Eric? Maybe you can come over for the build party. We're going to put this together. We're going to have a good time. I want to recognize a few folks that have either I've missed you in the past, or you've recently become a friend on the Facebook page, or you've been around forever. I see Jake Moe just got off of work. What's happening, Jake? I know your hands have been full. I understand that Ian Cordova's
Jake Moe on 12-hour days.
probably knowing him. I see photos of that guy going to work early in the morning and then coming back. I don't know if it's 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. when it gets dark out. Jake's a hardworking guy. He's the baddest builder out there. Jake, look forward to finding out what you have in store. You talk about a guy who's poised to win and take home some trophies. How that guy has not won and been awarded any trophies makes me think we've been fucking up all these years, but make no mistake about it. I'm sure that he's been too quiet. Ian's been a little quiet too. So these guys probably got some bikes that they're bringing out. There's some other folks that may not be able to get out there, but they're big fans of the show. I'd like to recognize them. Cam White, Jay Power, Tyson Parizio, Josh Ewell, Mason Long, Mike Razzo, Brent Collada, Ken Sear, Bill Dean, Kevin Wong, Nate Lawson, John Shrine, OG Rutman, Joey Ornelas, John Pardue, Dakota Hester, Stacy Prater, Brandon Flores, Kyle Rare, Brandon Greenlee, Hazy J, Robert Hall. We'll get to some of you guys that I missed a little bit later on, but yeah, we're in a pretty good place. I want to thank you guys who are listening. I know it's a little bit late on the East Coast. I saw a little comment, the Hall of Fame, it's funny because this year I mentioned we're inducting Minibike Paul as well as Guardrail Dave, who I found out his last name is Dave Clark. Should have known, right? I start thinking about next year, and just like, I mentioned guys like Jake Moe and some other folks, there's a lot of guys that are making so much of an impact on the scene that have not even come up in conversations about the Hall of Fame. So all of this is starting to really kind of come together. We're starting to see as the event grows, going on our 8th year, as the podcast grows, we'll be going on our 5th year. And as we have other folks like you and what you're doing, and Joe Petralia has his little YouTube program now, and I think he's got his next show will be featuring that ongoing build up with a Temecula Bob bike. Joe bought a stash of mini bikes. One of them turns out to be a Temecula Bob bike.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So he's been rebuilding his Tilly on there, and continued success to him. We'll be seeing Joe as well as the other contingent of friends he has from Arizona. My man John Benet Ramsey, he'll be coming out. Maybe we'll see our buddy Nick Sklar and some others. We have had some good pre-register. In fact, that's what I wanted to get to, because I may forget getting to. There's some folks that have pre-registered that you guys are smart, because there's the chance to take home the micro RCF bike. Christian Bielstein, Greg Richardson. Greg's a former Joe's Minibike Reunion People's Choice winner. He had that little red Ruttman.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Greg lives close to me.
Great guy.
Yeah.
His son and his family are reflective of that young gun youth focus that we have, trying to attract more young kids to be a part of it. And I ran a photo recently of those guys with their Joe's Minibike Reunion crunch, trying to get their stuff together. So they're jamming. Jack Boyd. Jack's a part of our judging team. He has 818 mini bikes. Ed and I typically go to their Christmas ride and find out which one of our bikes is going to break down first in front of Santa Claus and all the elves. It's really embarrassing. Robert Sanfilippo, he's a local. Robert's a big supporter of the show. Look forward to seeing you. Dan Rios, George Cost. George, if you're listening, and I think you do have a hearing problem, that's why I may have hung up on you, but I wanted to tell you that I was sorry about that, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the upcoming show. Dane Walton. Okay, Dane, I told you I was going to call you on this. God damn it, it's going to happen. I post last week my credential from the Sand Sports Super Show. It says, anybody coming down, holler. Dane says, puts his hand up. I say, great. We go through, where are you going to be? You know, where are you going to go? I'll meet you. I'll give you tickets. He thinks I'm talking about inviting him to Joe's Minibike Reunion. I think he's coming to the Sand Sport Super Show. It doesn't work out. We finally connect, Dane. I love you. I don't know what it is. All right. Steve Capito. Steve has a penchant for Japanese collectibles. Cars, mini bikes particularly. He's got some of the rarest Hondas, whether it's a mini bike or a car or a truck. He's got a very eclectic collection. He's a big attendee of the 818 mini bikes. He's coming to our show. He's been a longstanding guy. So, Steve, look forward to seeing you. Jeff Wolf, Ivan Schreiber, Calman Carisi and his wife coming from Detroit. Thank you, Cal. Adrian Asino, Dave Darnell, Dave, I think's Arizona. Randy Arnaud, Rich Denslow, Evan Rubel from RCF fame, and Kevin Westers. Those are just a group of folks. There's 2 other pages of folks who have pre-registered. Pre-registered. Get a chance to take this bike home. A little bit later on in the show, Ed and I are going to talk to Frank Franquez, and Frank's going to help us develop, in the original Super Stalker. In fact, you could see it on the engine behind you there, Eric. It had that. This one had a little bit of a longer extension, but they had somewhat of the stock pipes. So we're going to talk to Frank at F&B, give him some measurements, and see if he can put together a custom F&B pipe.
That's a Taylor pipe on there.
Yeah, so we'll replace that with something nice from F&B. And Ed and I were talking about this as well. We were originally hell-bent on replicating the logos that are on the clutch cover, and those took on the names of the Hookers and, Cal Custom and Bardall and Bell and Pennzoil. None of them, Hawk, none of them had a direct tie-in. I think it was just a reflection of what they used to do with the funny cars, litter them with decals for the contingency sponsorship payoffs. So as I went crazy trying to find all these decals, it's like, well, wait a minute. This is our version of the bike. So we'll use those decals from the folks that we're working with. And whether it's F&B or if we're going to put a Joe's Minibike Reunion, and, in the case of Hurst, where we're going to use that shifter, we'll keep using the Hurst logo, but we're going to put our own logos of the folks that were a part of building this bike. We're not going to just replicate the decals that were on there before. And we're really trying to tie them in. So like in the case of Edelbrock, that's why Ed painted the head red on the engine, with Hurst, the Hurst handle shifter. So we're trying to do as much as we can there just to have a little fun. Joe G doesn't know it, but there's a bracket here for a plate. So I've got a buddy crafting a small motorcycle plate, like a black plate that says Joe G on it. So we're just trying to make this, we're trying to bring it back close to what it was originally, just with a little Evil Ed twist. That's all coming down the pike. So once again, thank you for all the folks who have been listening about this and hearing about it and helping us. We appreciate the effort. Okay. The Gray Goat. Like, how did I come up with, I know I came up with Joe's Minibike Reunion. That was my name. How about the Gray Goat? I would jump right to the Gray Goatee, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more than that.
There's a little more to it than that.
Share what you'd like to about that.
When OMB Warehouse approached me about doing a show, you know, I had all these ideas. I just didn't want to make it.
Another one,
Hi,
right?
I'm Eric, and I'm going to assemble this today.
True.
You know,
Which a lot of them
because, you know, I've been called a lot of things, but you know, I've been told I have personality as well.
You do.
So, you know, I thought, what was this going to be? OMB after hours, you know? So I can be drinking a beer while I'm doing this, and every job has a value associated to it. Like, this is a 2-beer job, or this is a 3-beer job.
This may be a 6-pack.
Yeah, this might be a 6-pack. So to get ideas for videos and kind of just get my feel for it, I was on YouTube and I watched quite a few videos. And there was a very popular gentleman that has red hair and a beard. And I watched his videos, and watching it, I looked at that, and not even being with the company, with OMB yet.
Looking at it from a consumer perspective.
Looking at it from a consumer perspective and saying, why would he tell people to do this? You know, because one thing that so many people think that maybe I'm too salesman on the phone when I say you need a billet flywheel and you need a billet connecting rod.
Not because you want to sell it, but you know the engine's going to blow up unless they've got it, right?
They're pretty parts that you'll never see.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would I want to sell them if they don't need it? Well, you need it. So, you know, I'm seeing these builds with cams and heavier springs and everything, but we're still running a stock rod and a stock flywheel.
They're going to go immediately.
Right. Yeah. You know, and every day of my life, I say 0.003 because that's what you set your valves at. And I say, get a billet rod, get a billet flywheel. Right. You know, do it for your privates because it's right here.
Got it.
And don't do it for anything else. And it's flywheel's $105. Same price as my deductible if I have to go to the emergency room. So, you know, to me, it just makes sense. It's my insurance policy for my privates.
Sure.
And, you know, I see these builds going on where we're taking these engines, we're modifying them, but we're still using stock parts. And, you know, with the amount of people that I talk to weekly, you know, there's a kid out in Florida, Fred, if you're watching, hi Fred, and had a rod kick out the case, burned his leg with hot oil. And it's a safety thing for me. So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you're overcomplicating things and you're not erring for the side of safety. I just don't do that just for liability's sake for the company. I do that for the person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
You have to know this. So
and for the better well-being for the community and the hobby,
right,
and for the guys that are in it,
well,
especially
whatever
the new
you
ones.
want to do, that's on you. But I'm telling you up front, stock rod's going to starve for oil at 5,000, 5,500, and the stock flywheel is real fine Chinese cast iron, delicately balanced. Don't see a lot of those exploding, but see a lot of magnets coming off, which takes out the coil and takes out the block, and then you start fresh. So build it right the first time. Like building a house, start with a solid foundation, you know, and the billet rod and the billet flywheel is that solid foundation. So I'm looking at these videos with this red bearded gentleman, and I thought, no, you know what? We can appeal to a different crowd, and that's going to be my premise. So I'm like, well, I got to come up with a name then. Well, if he's got a red beard and I have a gray goat, then I can be the Gray Goat Garage. Triple G, baby.
It sounds, with the exception of the fighter, you're the second most popular Triple G. Yeah, and there is there's something to be said for that. And not that we're bashing anybody's video or red beard or the guy with the red beard.
I never even seen that video.
Yeah, but a lot of people have, largely because it's YouTube. And if you stick enough of it out there, people are going to watch it, and if it blows up, it's even more views. And if someone falls off, it's even so. There's a crazy spectrum in terms of how many views equal. Is that good or bad? Right? You know, you see so much shit out there. So you were coming in there just trying to find and provide a voice that was giving out the type of information that you felt needed to be addressed.
Right. Reasonable information, but also tangible information.
Right.
You know, and you know, one of my things is removing the governor gear. To watch this guy fiddle fart around for 40 minutes to get the little clip off the shaft to remove the nylon gear.
You're out in 5 minutes with it.
Not even that. I'm tap it through the case, tap it quarter 20.
Stick a bolt in there.
Head Allen with some Loctite. I'm done. I'm on my third beer by the time he's done wrestling around with this.
Yeah. So you wanted to take a different approach on delivering this message, and you've done that, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious. You got a nice little following there.
Yeah. And let's face it, Joe, I'm lazy. I don't want to fiddle fart around with that little C-clip.
We can't be bending over. It's
it's a strain on me, man. I'm a big guy.
Yeah. I think that there's something to be said, and I appreciate everybody's efforts. It's the same thing about podcasts or Facebook live shows. As I see them, one side of me says, here's another Me Too. Then it's part of like, hey, we were a part of launching that. I hope that people start more events. I don't want to be the only guy doing a mini bike show. I want to see more people do podcasts or social media related mini bike stuff. That's just, pushing it forward. That's all we need to do. And if we see a little bit of a niche that's not being addressed, or maybe we think that whether it's an event or whether it could be a website or whether it could be a FaceTime style show. Yeah, if you see a need that needs to be filled and you've got the interest and the time and energy to do it, we've done it. I like seeing what everybody else is doing, so keep that going. Gray gear, the gray goat,
gray gear,
the gray goat. The gray ghost, which I posted when I announced the guest, because Ed was breaking my balls. Said, "Is it gray goat?" Because I thought it was gray ghost, but he's got a goat on the back of his shirt, and I got the text. I'll prove it right here. It's gray goat. So when you do your show, you've got a similar style. It's a little bit techy, it's a little bit entertaining. Have you tried shifting it around? You got different plans going forward? What's kind of the plan with your show?
That's a struggle, and with the workload that I have, just getting my daily stuff done, I haven't prepared for my show yet. There's no room on the bench right now. I got to clear the whole workbench tomorrow, bring down an engine, start tearing it apart to pull the crank out and stuff like this, but I've already done that before. I had everything spec'd out, my plastic aged everything, and assembled a whole engine on the show in 45 minutes. Which some of my customers takes them 2 days.
Sure. Or some of the other video guys take 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I don't have any 45-minute breaks and laps because it's all live.
Sure. You're all done. You're in and out.
Right. Right.
I think people want that too. There's something to be said about that. I get a little bit of heat from folks that realize that our podcast is an hour and a half. Shit, we get people to get pissed off because we take a 10-minute break. You get them for a certain amount of time. Even the spots or the sponsor thank yous. There'll be some folks that'll turn off when you go over 20 names. There is this they want this immediate satisfaction sometimes. So it's
right.
And an hour goes by like that.
Yes.
And some shows you think can go on for 3 hours, but when you're on the other end of it, you may not exactly feel that way. So finding that and fine tuning it, right, we're still doing that.
But also not rehashing what I've already done.
Sure.
Keep it fresh.
How many times can you do a governor removal, right?
Right,
sure.
Yeah.
And then you have to, we used to have this challenge with magazines. You can't talk down to the readers. So you had to be selective that if you were in Hot Rod, there really were no how to select the camshaft guides, because the guys reading Hot Rod didn't really need to be coached on how to select the camshaft. Now, maybe Carcraft would be more appropriate, or Super Chevy, but you had to find out what was going to keep the guys reading it and also attracting the new guys without talking dumbed down. So that's you probably have that as a challenge.
Right now, our demographics are all over the board. I've got 14-year-old kids that'll call me needing help, but then I'll
his
talk
father,
to 80-year-old people,
his grandfather.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, so we're getting such a huge cross section with our demographic that I'm really struggling with this, and any help you can give me is great, Joe.
I don't know if we can do anything with that, but
it's like, what am I going to talk about this week?
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about?
We're going to talk about plastic aging a billet rod.
I might miss the first part. You know me, I get on about 5:20.
Yeah. No, I'll build your engines for you.
You should just adjust your show till Ed gets home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Ed. Well, you've seen the show enough. What are some of the things that you like that you've seen, or are there any suggestions?
I like it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can appreciate it. You know.
I can't wait to watch it on Thursdays.
Good.
Sometimes I get home a little late, and then I start doing something. It's, oh, wait, OMB.
Yeah. It's like your favorite show. You're on TV. You used to watch it. Remember Tuesday nights?
I got to punch in
Yeah.
Evil Ed in the house. Evil Ed from Pacoima. Oh, what's the answer to where it was made? Tijuana.
Yeah, Tijuana. Everything's in Tijuana. Yeah.
Well, it is kind of like these podcasts and these Facebook style shows. It's like, I'm going to go out Wednesday nights. Wednesday night, I go out with the guys. It's kind of what it is.
Right.
It's like
it's staying home, going out with the guys.
You got it.
Yeah.
There's a few of them they're gonna chime in, and a couple of comments, and some stay a little longer than you like. Some pop in and out, not long enough, but it's fun. We've got a good group of folks that continue to support us. I'm sure many of them are aware of who you are. If you're not, check them out. How would you, if a Martian on a spaceship just landed over there, how would you tell them to check you out? How's it work?
Go to ombwarehouse.com on Facebook and join the show there.
Okay.
Because I post up every week, and I'm live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
And you do it every Thursday, huh?
Every Thursday.
So we don't run as often. And I often wondered about that. I used to think that was the goal, that we would have a show each week.
Every week, yeah.
And as we know, there are things in life that keep us from doing that. So I'm in one sense, it's like I really admire those people that continue it like every Wednesday. I started the podcast largely because I was spending monies elsewhere to promote the Minibike show. And I thought, why not only do that, but also have the whole year to help educate the people on either folks that are in the industry or stories, or, you know what we do, our shtick here. And that proved to be much more the focus. And there are times when I listen to this podcast and I wonder, what we're going to do next, what we're going to do to grow the audience, if what we're doing is really moving the needle. It's the same old shit. So you go back and forth with yourself. And I'll often have times, in fact, the last podcast could have been an example where it's like, I just wasn't feeling it in my mind. We had a lot going on, not only that week, but this whole summer, that day particular. He had been painting. He's fallen asleep.
Yeah, it was falling asleep.
It was hot. And then it's like, fuck, that probably was terrible. And then I purposely, because it's awkward hearing yourself. You probably, don't you hate it?
I hate watching myself, hate hearing myself.
The ums and but I more than usually after the show, I'll listen to it. This one I wanted no part of, and I was hesitant. And then E posts his clean version. Usually comes 4 or 5 days after the original podcast, and I'm standing up doing some shit. So I plug it in, and like I'm listening. It's like, huh? I haven't wanted to kill myself yet. And I listened to the whole podcast, and it was another example of the time where I'm wondering how it's coming across. I can't even tell, because when I think it's really going good and I listen to it afterwards, it's like, nah. Then when I think it's not too good and you listen to it, it's like, that wasn't too bad. So I guess we're our own worst critics, but we should also be our own biggest fans. So I'm encouraging you to continue to do what you do, just like I encourage these other guys who are doing the events. It's all of us. And at some point, somebody else does the event. At some point, someone else does the tech talk. Someone else does the painting. And, part of the fun is it's our time now, and we'll keep it going. We're going to give away some products, too. We're going to take a look at some of the comments. Hell, we'll just give away one of these Pioneer backup cameras, right, Ed?
Okay, I'll take it.
I don't know how much these are. You can have the other one. So keep those comments in. Keep those posts in. I got a few more shout-outs. In the meantime, how about you? Any shout-outs you want to give from your end, Eric? I'm sure there's a few people that are part of the home scene as well as part of your fan following.
There's so many of them. I think of Vernon Adams.
Yes.
We're not related. And
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. Vernon's a guy I met through the Coleman stuff, and Vernon and I got to talking. Vernon actually helps me develop products, and he tests products for me.
Yeah, he's a fan of the page too.
Right.
I don't think I've ever talked to him. He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. But Karen's there. Karen Kraus, the Queen of Seats. She's there every week, and Randy Gumpet, and that damn Simple Tom. I can't. He knows every answer to every question already.
Tom knows everything. Just ask him.
Yeah.
I saw a note from him. Is he Michigan?
Yes.
Okay. So Tom is one of these technical critiques. Boy, if this show doesn't start on time, or if there's a blip with the audio between him and Karen, it's like, man, just a freaking podcast in the garage. Like, but I love that. Tom, at some point, I've got to have Tom do some art for me for one of these T-shirts or hats or something. So he's a big fan, huh? Who else?
Yeah. Tom has amazing art, by the way.
Sure.
Randy Gumpet's been there from the start, and Tom Engine out in Florida. And then we got Frank Zimkowski's there every week. Sometimes Ed's on. I get Charles and Jake every once in a while when they have the time.
Yep.
There's just so many of them.
There's a few more of them here that want to say hi. Temecula Bob watching. Hi, Temecula Bob.
He is watching.
Sure he is.
Yeah, get busy, Bob. You ain't got time for this.
Like Eric wants his frame.
All I got to say is, thank you, Bob. Thank you. Patience is a virtue. You are the king of the minis and the micros. Thank you. Okay, Joe Petralia, my buddy Ricky Trong. Ricky Trong is my original Joe's Minibike Reunion People's Choice winner. He had that modified CT70, the orange one, and that put me on the map. Thank you, Ricky. You always be my first. Dave Ramiro. Dave Ramiro's already got it. Dave starting a UFC fight between you and Redbeard. Another big fan, Max Palter.
Oh, Max is there every week. I love Max.
J.C. Townsend said that Redbeard Ghost lost his balls in a flywheel accident. Big Dane, Joe Petralia's continue to promote his YouTube show. Jake Mode, Jim Savis. Wow, Jim Savis back from Greece. All tanned and handsome. So we've got a few folks. There's a few others. I like to try to get to everybody, but candidly, it's just tough.
Oh, you know what?
What? Who else?
I forgot one of my most important fans.
Who is it?
Vince Cucco, Vinny's Minis in Florida.
Vinny's Minis. Vinny has every T-shirt in the industry. In fact, Vinny...
No, he doesn't.
There's going to be a few more.
I don't think he has an Evil Ed T-shirt.
He doesn't have an Evil Ed T-shirt?
I don't think so.
There's one over there. See that one?
I don't think he has one.
Wow, Vinny. I thought you had all the
Vinny,
goods.
I'll steal that T-shirt for you tonight.
I don't think he has one of
Vinny he's putting together a nice little yellow something I saw in a recent post.
Gambler 500 is going to Florida.
The Gambler 500. We had those guys on the podcast not too long ago.
Right. Yeah. I've worked with quite a few Gambler racers.
They're Coleman style frames. That's kind of their deal. The big tire.
Right. But there's different classes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I really think anybody wants to win in Gambler, run the 6-inch wheel class with a 534/50 by 6 to get a bigger tire.
Sure.
And get full suspension.
Go.
You'll motor past everybody.
If you got a little riding skill.
Yeah.
And you wait till later to drink instead of beforehand like all the other competitors. All you got to do is when they do the shots, throw yours on the ground. That would be an event to go to. Could you imagine? Because at this point, we know we're not riding. Those guys are crazy. So we'll just go. We'll get the little trailer maybe. You take the red truck.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll have a little something. Ed, you bring the dog. Russ Mail, Jamie or Jaime Urza, Gary Watts, John Dawkins, A.C. Smith, Matt Churchill, Kevin Barr, Mikey Mike, John Bass, Devin Jones, Derek Latham, Christian Delgado, Sean Kuhn, Nick Veracruzzi, I probably butchered that, Brandon Reeves, Joe Gotti, hey, I got a deal for you, Juan Gonzalez, Mike Carnes, Dylan Jack. I also want to give a couple shout-outs. There's some folks that are celebrating birthdays. Chris Snyder. Chris had those awesome blue CT70s that won the People's Choice Award like 2 years in a row. Congratulations, it's your birthday today. I also wanted to give a shout-out to Linda's going back to New York next week. And it's her mother's, I won't say, she's not quite 100, but she's getting there. So... To my mother-in-law, Irene, congratulations. We love you. Too bad I won't be able to make it. And my sister-in-law is getting back surgery. So that sucks. That's your second one. God damn, Michelle. I told you not to even get the first one, but I hope you do good too. We talked about that. Greg Dahlia, I thank you. Also, Ford Timberlake. Happy birthday to you, Ford. Okay. Ed, how about you? What's on your plan? I know that I continue to make your life miserable with these last-minute deals for the Super Stocker, but as we collect the parts, it's starting to look like it's going to be a fun couple of days putting that thing together. I think we have everything. If Ed's happy, I'm happy. If Ed's not happy, I'm not happy. We're going to try to do a couple other things, like we're going to color match a helmet and then the inside of the helmet was just too ratty.
It was trash.
By the time we send that thing out, those are the types of things that, like, I wanted to make a real custom stand. I think what we're going to do is just worry about getting the bike done, and then all the little ancillary accessories, a stand, a helmet, we'll have all that done so that when she ultimately shows it, which will probably be at the SEMA show a month later, we'll have time to do that. Eric, it's been a blast. I hope that everybody who's been listening has felt the same. Ed, is there anybody that you maybe like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Drew and Vicky Pratt.
Yes. Who else?
The Gray Ghosts.
Gray
Ghosts bosses.
Yep. And hey, tonight's Pioneer backup camera goes to Dave Darnell. Dave Darnell, thanks for listening. You're also a pre-registered guy for Joe's Minibike Reunion. It's the ND DVR 100. It's a dash camera. It literally bolts right up where your rear view mirror is, and it's compact in style. It's discrete mounting, going to give you increased road visibility, and you're going to be able to see when the next Joe's Minibike Reunion's coming. It's October the 19th, right from your rear view mirror.
Dave Darnell is a great guy, too.
And he also has a Pioneer dash camera. Good for you. Hope you had a good time. We're going to give away one final gray beard, gray ghost, gray duck combo set.
Lord.
It's going to be the, what do we call these things?
Tumbler.
Tumblers.
Like me, I'm a tumbler.
It's the Great Goat Tumbler. It's the Great Goat tee with this cool little goat. Shit, Ed, you ought to snag one of these. These are pretty cool. So we'll give those away. We'll look afterwards. We'll announce it on the podcast wrap-up. When's the next podcast, D? Okay, so next week I come back. I can do one. I can do one Wednesday night.
Next Wednesday?
Yeah. 25th? Would that be the 25th? Okay, that's the night that Linda leaves. That's the day Linda leaves. So the next podcast, I can't do Thursday or Friday because I'm away. I'm back that next week. So let's do the 25th. We'll see you guys on the 25th. Same bat time, same bat channel, everybody. Have a good one. Make it a better one. See you next time. Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe's Minibike Show.